Some more on that result and how BHP is likely to fare today. Stan Shamu joins us from IG in Melbourne now. Stan, what can we expect from BHP after it fell 1.6% in London?
Yeah, it certainly seems like the result attracted an initial sell-off, particularly in London trade there, where it really disappointed. Of course, here it came out after market, so investors haven't really quite had a chance to react to the result. So it should be interesting to see how it trades today. The ADR is currently pointing down 1.1%, and we also have to remember that the stock actually fell 1.6% heading into the result. So it should be interesting to see how it balances out with the fall in the UK there, and exactly how it opens up today. So it should open around 36.15. Of course, there's quite a lot to look out for in terms of commentary from various analysts. The headline net income came in at 11.8 billion. The consensus in the market was around 12.7 billion, so that really did come in much lower than expected. Of course, weaker metals prices and some issues in emerging economies like China, for example, Brazil, India, and South Africa have really hurt the miner over the past year, and they will be starting to look at the ways of improving earnings going forward. Of course, there are a lot of positives as well, so it's not just looking at the past earnings and saying that BHP has failed. They have come through with a pretty good cost initiative there. They announced FY14 capex of 16.2 billion. Of course, the market was expecting around 18 billion. I think most analysts were in the 17 to 18 billion range, with Deutsche Bank was one of the few ones that was optimistic actually at 16 billion. So that really has come to fruition, and it looks like they've made significant steps there. Cost savings were up to about 2.7 billion compared to the 1.8 billion that they had guided before. And of course, 2.6 billion of these cost savings will go to the potash or Jansen potash project, and that should provide some diversity in the longer term. But I think some analysts will be concerned about continuing investment in this project, considering the recent price war, which saw that instability in potash prices and really did give a lot of concerns about the viability of the project. So that will continue to be dissected going forward. But of course, we have to look at the improvement in metals prices as well that we've been seeing, particularly iron ore, and of course the improvement that's coming through from China, and that's another positive for BHP. So in light of that, if we do open lower, possibly towards that $36 level, we might attract some value and see investors start to get back in the stock, and potentially it might erase some of its losses as the day progresses.
Just in terms of the disjointed moves being seen in the FX space, there was a minor retreat in the US dollar, but what's your thinking on those moves in the markets heading into the release of the FOMC minutes?
Yeah, absolutely. It does show that there's a lot of cautiousness in the FX markets heading into the FOMC minutes. Of course, the moves in the US Treasuries were possibly the most notable and the most watched. Of course, they had risen to their highest level since 2011, pushing to 2.89% the day before. But they have cooled, coming down to about 2.81. So that really did encourage investors, particularly on the equities front in the US, and that really did push it a little bit higher. But of course, with the FX market, it's all about the US dollar. It retreated slightly, but still, we didn't quite get a specific risk theme. The euro was the standout, which charged through 134. Took out some stops there and managed to rally to about 134.5. So that really has been a standout for the risk market or risk FX space this week. And of course, with PMIs coming out on Thursday, it will be really interesting to see if it can maintain this momentum that it's had from that comment from Bundesbank about forward guidance not being set in stone when it comes to low interest rates. So this has been really fanning the euro higher in the short term. But of course, a lot of these PMIs, the expectations are for readings in expansionary territory and showing marked improvements from the previous readings. So there's a lot of room for disappointment there. And if those numbers don't hit the mark, then potentially the euro could drop back below that 134 level. Just looking at the Aussie dollar quickly as well, it's still within striking distance of that 91 level, just holding on. Of course, it was all about the RBA minutes yesterday. They were quite neutral, whilst they have said that another cut's not imminent. they will also continue to monitor data, and the next move will really be data dependent. So it does show that they have a wait and see approach, although they're still happy to ease if data doesn't improve. So it doesn't really give much of a direction for the Aussie dollar, and we do feel that most of the direction in the FX market will come from the US dollar side of the equation as we head into the business end of the week with data. And of course tomorrow we also have China starting to come out with its PMI numbers, and that should be interesting to see if the improvement we've been seeing from China can continue in the short term.
Dan, we've got the SPI futures up 0.3%, but you know, you were saying earlier your expectations for a fall for BHP today. What's your thinking then for the opening call for the ASX 200?
Yeah, we are looking at a gain of about 0.2% at the open, so there's nothing much in it really. Of course, yesterday was a very disappointing day for the market with BHP falling into its results. But there's no real encouragement for investors to keep bidding it higher unless we get some fairly good earnings reports today. Of course, it's quite a big reporting day with the likes of Woodside, Seek, Iluka, all set to come out with their earnings today. So if we do continue to see a situation where earnings don't really shoot the lights out, then potentially the market will continue to fall on its own weight. We've got stocks like Suncorp, which will be in focus after, of course, yesterday QBE came out and disappointed. So we'll have to see if some of these insurers can pick themselves out off the ground and investors can find some value in them in the short term. We might also get some bright spots from the gold space after the gold pushed higher about 1.7% overnight on the back of that weaker US dollar.
Stan, as always, thank you.
Cheers, Brady.
Stan Shamu there from IG. Coming up on First Business, we're going to get some analysis on the forward guidance in yesterday's RBA minutes, plus the analyst forecast for some of those earnings Stan was just mentioning there, including Woodside. We'll look at this and the other major company results that are due out today.
Mixed views on who won the first debate.